Well, this is an opportunity. If you've never had the benefit of having a board and advisor, this is the opportunity. And so I'm going to turn this over to my dear friend, Trace Flaherty, who is the former executive director of the Wharton Small Business Development Center at the University of Pennsylvania. Trace has a lifetime of working with businesses at some of the most prestigious colleges and universities, from Harvard to the Wharton School. And so Therese absolutely is a subject matter expert on small businesses and how to grow small businesses. And so it is certainly a pleasure for PIDC to have this long-time relationship with Therese and endorse the work that she is doing to grow businesses, not only in Philadelphia, but in our entire region. And so now I'm going to turn this over to Therese.
Thank you. Thank you, Marla. As usual, it is a privilege and a pleasure to be with you and to be with you for businesses in Philadelphia. The wonderful thing, I'm going to talk a little bit and introduce my colleagues because we're a nice small group today. So I think I will introduce my colleagues from the Advisory Network for Small Business while you can still see their faces. And then we'll tell you a little bit about what our organization is, and we'll share with you those slides and then have a good time to talk about the particular issues that Chanel, Anthony, and Sarah have brought up. I think we can really take some time to brainstorm and help you figure out what your options are. But let me say, our Advisory Network for Small Business, us and our previous organization, our ancestor organization, have been putting together advisory teams for small businesses for over 15 years. And I found when I was at Wharton that we really needed in Philadelphia something to help businesses once they get to a certain level really take a big next step, because there are a lot of issues that come up that require more than just one subject matter expert. And so it's been a pleasure to work with a couple of people that you see here. Betsy McClarney is going to introduce herself a little bit more. She is an entrepreneur who has a really interesting business in outdoor advertising, which you just make sure you understand what it is she's doing. I had no idea we had resources like that in our community. She's a terrific advisor and also someone whose business is very interesting. She's going to talk to us a little bit later about how and when in her pathway to having a pretty impressive larger business, how she got some help and what her choices were. And you can see Chantel Fitzgerald, who's sitting there in one of our little squares out in the burbs. Chantel is the founder and the CEO of Mindset Strategies, LLC. She is a graduate of 10KSB and currently a client of the Advisory Network for Small Business. And she can tell you about her very interesting business and her various leadership work that she's been doing in the area, and also why and how she decided to work with an advisory team last time. And then we have a black square with Frank Cimbala's name in the bottom of it. And I'll let Frank speak now if he's on the phone and able to. He looks like he's not muted. Just to tell us a little bit. I know you are also the CEO of a very interesting business and a long-standing colleague and collaborator with PIDC and with me on the Advisory Network for Small Business. I know you're not going to be talking explicitly about your business today, but let us hear your voice and tell us a little bit about your business.
Great. Thank you, Therese. Hi, everyone. I'm sorry not to be there where you can see me visually, but I am here and I'm listening intently with a lot of the things, Anthony, you mentioned, and also Chanel, and also Sarah with some of the things, just some of the questions and reasonings, and all sound very, very legitimate and valid. And I'll tell you, you can't have enough people to support you and your community as you develop and grow your business. So we're glad to be on this call and a continued involved partner of PIDC. But my company is called Communications Services and Support, and I've actually transformed from being solely in primarily a tactical printing side of business over the years. As technology changes and the market changes, we've become more hybrid and also involved newer uses of technology to do things more cost effectively, but also brought together some creative resources to help one tell their messaging. And that's going to be most important for all of you, to make sure that messaging is important and trying to find the most cost-effective way to do that. So I look forward to continuing talking with all of you. But it's Frank Cimbala, and the company is called Communications Services Support, and I'm glad to be on this call with all of you.
Great. Thank you, Frank. And let me just signal to everyone that it's very fortuitous that Frank is on this call with us, because two of you have nonprofits, and Frank is very experienced in working in nonprofits. And I believe he's on the board of the Girls and Boys Club here and has been for many years. He's been on the board at Drexel. So he's going to be very helpful when we get into brainstorming the kinds of things those of you who are here with us today are looking at. So I will spend a couple minutes talking to you about the Advisory Network for Small Business. And we'll send you, Marla will send in the next day or two, an email that will have a copy of a PDF of this, as well as some links to us. So don't worry if you don't get all the details down. Marla, I don't know if I'm going to be able to advance this. Oh, I was. Good. Did you just do that, Marla, or did I?
That was me. I'm going to advance them for you.
Okay, would you go back one slide, please? There should be another slide which has our agenda. No? Here we are. Okay. So as you can see, we've all talked and introduced ourselves. So you know who's on the call, and we know which entrepreneurs are on the call and what your interests are. So we'll try to highlight that. And then at the end, we'll have a long time for Q&A and to brainstorm about what will be most useful for our three entrepreneurs today. First, I will talk a little bit about how ANSB helps entrepreneurs. Then we'll talk very briefly about the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business, which is really a strategic partnership for ANSB as well as for PIDC. And then we have two entrepreneurs, Betsy, who's on our board, and Chantel, who is now using an advisory team. And they're going to talk about their experiences and how they decided they really wanted to have a team. Then we'll open it up. So I will move through these fairly quickly. Would you go to the next slide, please, Lashaya? Here we are, the Advisory Network for Small Business. We're a nonprofit organization, and our dedication is to helping entrepreneurs grow their businesses profitably. What we have are volunteers, professionals volunteered, and we use our networks to identify an advisory team of experienced business owners and corporate executives and entrepreneurs. That's especially what each individual entrepreneur client needs. So once we work with a client to figure out what their challenge is, we then go out and use our networks to put together a team of people with multiple disciplines like HR, marketing. We almost always have somebody in each of those areas that are listed here, as well as some people who are experienced in the business area or the customer business area that the client wants. We put together a customized team. Next slide, please. What do we do? What's the benefit? Well, the benefit is we are really the only organization that I'm aware of that does a volunteer team like this that is focused just on your business. And 10,000 Small Businesses, by the way, is terrific. And if you haven't already done it, we will suggest you go do it. But that is an experience in education and experience in peer groups. The difference is once you've done those things and got your education, you often find that you need an experience that is focused just on your business, not on anybody else's. And that's what one of our teams does. We give you a sounding board for your new ideas. We really help the CEOs step back. And if you haven't heard the term, help you work on the business rather than in it. That means instead of selling, try to think about how you can get your organization to sell better. I think Chanel was talking about wanting the people in her childcare organization to take more leadership. That's the idea, leading them to do even more for the organization. And we often will be working on developing and implementing a solid business plan, sharing some ideas for improvement, really across the board. Because once you've reached a certain level in your organization, you can't just do the marketing. You have to be balancing marketing and people development and money, which is why you need an advisory team. And then finally, of course, we help you build your support network. Next slide. An advisory team of advisors, this kind of advisory team will assist you for 1 year. And what we expect is by the end of that year, you're ready to put together your own team. You almost always want an advisory team if you can have one. We will find those 4 to 5 advisors, and we'll also show you who they are and ask you, does it seem like you're really going to be comfortable with these advisors? You can easily say, you know, I've met that person and they just rub me the wrong way, or they're kind of too close to a competitor business. I don't want to share everything with them. Whatever it is, if you say, I am uncomfortable with that person, I kind of know them, or I'm uncomfortable with their business, we immediately say, don't worry, we'll keep looking. And if you need to talk to someone, we'll arrange that too. Because what we want you to have is a group of 4 to 5 advisors with whom you feel very comfortable sharing totally confidential information about your business, including finances, including what you're thinking about the future. And if you don't have that comfort level, you're not going to be able to really benefit as much from a team of advisors. You do not want to be trying to keep things from your advisory team. By the way, if you have a board of directors, you may well want to keep some things from them, because after all, they can overrule you and make different decisions. But your advisory team, everyone will sign a non-disclosure. You need to approve that you're comfortable working with them, and that this is a group that would work with you for a limited time, and will get you ready to soar as the year ends. Next slide, please. What kind of ground rules do we set, and how do you work effectively with a team? First one is full sharing of information. Second is that we really want you to be able to get comfortable running your advisory team so you get from that team what you want. And usually we have our business owner work with a mentor on the advisory team. At the moment, almost all our mentors are also members of our board, although as we expand, we will expand beyond that. But that would be the person who will facilitate your meetings to start with, schedule them, help you as a business owner figure out how to get the most from your advisory team. You want to be open to ideas and different perspectives as you're working with an advisory team. That's part of the benefit of it. They bring you a whole different world, and some of it will be good and some of it won't be. You're the person who has to make the decisions and say, you know, that's kind of cool. That might have worked for you, but I'm just not ready to think about it. We're going to be supporting you to make your decisions and to get confidence in gathering information and gathering perspective. And then finally, the business owner needs to be engaged in working with the advisory board. Now, almost all the time that is true. Now and then we have someone who they might have a problem in their family, someone might get sick. So they really say, you know, I just can't be engaged right now. And I have to go take care of a family member. In which case, what we do is we pause the advisory board meetings. We say, that's fine, you go do it, and we'll come back and work together eventually. The reason for that is that our advisory board, professionals, they volunteer, and they really want to be useful. People who do this love it. They don't love it if they're meeting month after month with someone who doesn't have the bandwidth to really act on and use the information. So in fact, we do pause some advisory boards. It's rare, but we're very ready to do it, and we're very ready to work with you and say, let's start this when you have the time and the resources to really take advantage. Next slide. Okay, once again, how does it work? You have an initial meeting with your mentor, and you discuss what you really want to get out of this and how you're going to plan it. We have we have quarterly meetings and mid-quarterly meetings. Basic idea is you meet every 6 weeks with your team, your advisory team. And every other time you meet for 2 hours. It could be in person. Before COVID, it was in person. Now we're finding the Zoom works very well. You review where you are and you get a lot of advice. Sometimes it's a brainstorm. And then you have 1 hourly meetings that alternate with those. And that's a chance to have a check-in with your team and to keep everything moving along. Then in addition to the meetings over the year, what you have often are ad hoc meetings. So that's usually individual meetings with members of your advisory team that are able to help you with a particular thing that doesn't require the whole board to be present, and where they can give you some expertise. Usually this happens earlier in your team experience. So Chantel can tell you one of our marketing people has been helping her develop her printed and video marketing materials. We had another situation where the CPA who knew about the kinds of meetings and reports that would help an entrepreneur collect on their receivables and get it happening very quickly in the construction business. He met with her a couple times, especially at the beginning, to help her get a whole new way to get a hold of her collections and actually all of her cash flow. So it varies a lot who's meeting, which of the advisory team meetings meet one-on-one, but this gives you a sense of it. Next slide. What kinds of people become clients? Well, Chantel's going to talk with you later, and she has a leadership and management consulting business. We've got a number of clients that are in consulting and in leadership. Notice they're all in business, like right across the board here, for multiple years. Everybody who has an advisory team with us has several years of business experience, and they all have really built a substantial business. They have good revenue. They have full-time employees, at least 2, including themselves, sometimes a lot more than that. They are valued by their clients. They're doing really well. And basically, these are all business owners who think they can do much better. We have a gentleman who's just started with an advisory team this fall. He said, I am so frustrated. I've been in this business for 20 years. I've taken on a number of people, young people, and shown them how to do the business. They've gone off, and this is in a professional service business, and they've established other businesses that are growing bigger than mine. I need some help to get through this barrier that I have. Someone who has that vision and needs a little bit more wisdom to figure out, how do I get over the next hurdle and how do I really make it happen? Next slide. Okay. Strictly speaking, we do have some eligibility requirements. In order to get an advisory team, we like to know that you've been in business for at least 3 years, that you have at least a minimum revenue, that you have 2 full-time employees or their equivalent, including yourself, and that you're coachable and growth-minded. We are not here, we like to help, but we're not here if you're in a miserable situation. We're here to really help you achieve something you see, and we want to be able to see that we can probably really make a difference to you in a year, which we've found over time that we really can. You can see that we do have a one-time fee that's based on your revenue. And that is because even though all the people who work with you, everybody who's on this call is a volunteer, we do have some administrative expenses at the core of the business. We have to pay for some IT. We actually have a volunteer CPA, and we've had volunteer lawyers, but we have a little bit of tech help, and we have a little bit of administrative help. So we're using our fees to defray those expenses, but never to defray the expenses of the professionals that work with you. Next slide. Okay, so this is Fran McNeil. She is a board member, and she's also the executive director of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program. Fran is another friend whom we've known for years and years. I know I have, and I'm sure Marla has. She is absolutely fabulous, and her program is really worth thinking about if you haven't done it. You do need, and I know, Anthony, your association is too young to avail yourself of having a Goldman Sachs board. But it may be that Sarah and Chanel should think about Goldman Sachs. This is an educational program, and Marla and Chantel can tell you a little more about their experience with it. They have 3 cohorts a year, and they have both great management education and a wonderful experience of peer-to-peer. The people who are in Goldman Sachs program typically keep their professional friendships that they develop there for years and years. They help each other. They really learn how to do great things, and they consolidate a lot of their management skills themselves. It's a wonderful, wonderful program. And over the years, I've found that many of the people who like advisory teams and make the most of them have been graduates of 10KSB. So I often say, you're thinking about an advisory team, and by the way, I'm very happy to talk to you about coming directly to us. I often say, think about whether you want to do the 10KSB program if you haven't done it yet before, or you can do it afterwards. But it's a wonderful program, and others can talk more to it. But I think it's great that PIDC will have an introductory meeting on October 26th for people who are applying for the cohort that will start in the winter and finish in late spring. Next slide, please. Okay, this is Betsy McClarney, who is now going to talk to you. And if we can, Lachey, maybe we can go back to the gallery where we can actually see Betsy as she speaks. And then if you could do that, that would be great if we can go back to the gallery. Betsy is on our ANSB board. I mentioned earlier that she is an entrepreneur. She's grown her business. She knows the 10KSB program, and she knows the ANSB program. She's been a team member. And I'm going to ask her, before she talks about all that, to tell you about EMC Outdoor, because I never knew it existed, and you need to know it does.
Thank you, Therese, and hello, everybody. I'm really pleased to be with you here today, and I just want to share a little bit of my journey and how I came to work with ANSB and other entrepreneurs. Our business is a boutique advertising agency. It's called EMC Outdoor, and my father actually started it in 1991. I joined him in 1998. And honestly, I didn't even know what outdoor advertising was, but it was a fantastic opportunity to join him. And he made it clear that he was preparing to retire in a relatively short order. So I had a pretty tall order coming into the business to not only learn the business, but also to lead it and manage it. I'm 25 years into it now. So I'll take a step back real quick and let you know what outdoor advertising is. And I'm sure you're familiar with it and maybe just don't recognize it. It is one of the key media channels when brands are doing their media mix modeling for all types of marketing campaigns. The most well-known formats are billboards, transit, any type of transit. It could be bus, it could be rail, it could be monorail, for instance, as well as airport advertising. Those are the three main buckets, but it also includes all kinds of media that you on a daily basis subconsciously or consciously may or may not recognize, such as grocery store advertising. When you go to the theater, there are ads ahead of the movie. There's gas station ads. We like to call those lifestyle media choices. And if we're putting together a local campaign targeting very specific demographics, zip codes, things like that, we may really use some of those media channels to have a greater reach with that particular local audience. And lastly, we also get involved with pop-up street team activations. That is out of the home. They're one-to-one engagements. They usually include wrapped vehicles, brand ambassadors, and all types of signage. And of course, promotional giveaways, which help to engage consumers one-to-one. So that's the span of work that we do. And it has been a fun ride. However, I will say after joining the business, and my father stayed invested in the business for about another 2 or 3 years before really letting go of the reins, and I took over the business at that point. I'd say in terms of the business and its growth trajectory, it was really strong. We tripled our business in a matter of 15 years. And I reached a level where I felt alone at the top. It can be a very lonely place to run a company. And I needed some outside perspective. I knew I needed it. I was talking to other business owners. And of course, I had a really good team internally, but I knew what they all were going to say. And so I really needed more business owners that had a perspective, potentially coming from other industries, having run their own businesses and grown them slowly, rapidly, it didn't matter. But I really needed some fresh perspective, and I needed some tough talk. No fluff, like give it to me straight. What are you seeing with my business financials, with my growth plans, and especially people. The agency business is a people business that could be very different from some of your businesses, but it is the largest cost to an advertising agency beyond operating expense, all the overhead and things like that. So I really sought out a number of folks that I knew that were running their own businesses. And they said, look, you can go a couple of ways. You can either create your own board, like Anthony wants to do, or you could join a peer advisory network. At the time, I did not hear anything about an expert advisory network. So those were the two choices I had, and I felt really challenged to put together a board. Wasn't quite sure who to approach, even though I had a number of key contacts, but more importantly, didn't know that I had the time to put together the board. and be really clear about what I needed. I was really at a point in my business where the growth was outpacing anything I could do to really stay on top of things. I have a sales and marketing background, and I would easily gravitate towards that when other parts of the business really required my attention. And in any event, I chose to go the peer advisory network path. And I joined an organization and have since joined several other organizations because I found them to be so valuable. However, the first peer advisory network I joined were non-competing businesses. And these were all owners of their business. And we would talk about our similarities, our challenges. Each business would present at each meeting, not only their financials, but their successes and their challenges. And then they would get feedback. The difference between the peer advisory network that I'm in now, that I find so valuable, versus when I first joined, which was in 2015, another network, was that the network I'm involved with now is made up of other agency owners. So we start at a very different level. We all know labor costs are our biggest challenge to keep in check. And in any event, we meet 3 times a year for 2 days at a time, just to give you a sense of the commitment to this network. The difference between what ANSB is offering and what I'm involved with and have been involved with is it's an expert advisory network that is focused on you as the business owner. As Therese said, we build that panel for you, that advisory panel of subject matter experts based on what your needs are. And we have many highly experienced seasonal professionals that have run their own business or executives in small, medium, and large businesses ready to zero in on what your needs are and work with you steadily over this 1-year period. I was actually on a panel. I was actually part of an advisory panel for a year with a business owner that was in the translation services business. And we got started with the understanding, and one of the reasons why I joined that panel was that she had some very distinct sales and marketing challenges she wanted to tackle. And with my background and extensive network of contacts within the local community, I was selected to be on this board. In fact, she walked in the first day. We all introduced ourselves. She had read our bios, but she came in and she said, I have to change my challenge. I have I have an offer on the table to be acquired. So that changed everything. Although I will say that the sales and marketing function was still extremely important, because as you work your way through a transition in selling your business, you never want to take your eye off of continuing to manage your business effectively, as well as developing new opportunities. The acquirer, the buyer, is looking as one of many critical points of acquisition to ensure that your business has continuity and can grow without you, in fact. But nevertheless, it was a challenging year. I learned a lot, but I know she did as well. And we were able to maintain her sales and even grow some. I was helpful to her to introduce her locally to a number of key accounts that she was interested in pitching her translation services to. And we used the time to help her segment her client base and determine who she wanted to target as her sweet spot clients, in what verticals, and in what particular order. she would go about that geographically. So I've been up, down, and all around with my own business, with advisory networks, as well as participating on an advisory network. And I can say I have seen over and over again the value that ANSB brings to business owners in helping them to get more focused on their business, working on the business, not in the business, which I can tell you when I turned to my network, I was working in the business. And it was a real game changer for me to get out of the day-to-day and make my business run as best as it can without me. Because I have all kinds of ideas. I want to continue to grow this business. And when you're working in the business day to day, you have those ideas, but it's very hard to find the time and leadership to take your team to the next level. And with that, I will cede the floor.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Betsy. And you guys, our entrepreneurs today, will have a chance to ask questions of Betsy, as well as of Chantel Fitzgerald, who has a very interesting business that she's grown and she has, as I mentioned before, experience with Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business and with the Advisory Network for Small Business. And she can tell you why she decided pretty recently to have an advisory team. Over to you, Chantel. Thank you so much for being here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Hello, everybody. I'm excited to be here and share my experience and a little bit about my business as well. So I am Chantel Fitzgerald, the founder and CEO of Mindset Strategies. So we are a leadership development firm, which focuses on mindfulness, emotional intelligence, executive coaching, and DEI. And we also have a leadership institute for Black women, where we target companies that want to invest in their Black women leaders to help get them to the next level as well. So we do a lot, everything in the realm of leadership development, leadership training, executive coaching, that kind of thing. So yeah, I recently went through the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program last year. In fact, today we had our 1-year anniversary reunion. I highly recommend considering this program to go through the 10KSB program because you learn so much. You have such an incredible group of other entrepreneurs that you can work with that encourage you. And plus just the curriculum of the 10KSB program is also pretty on point, where you learn a lot about your own business and areas in which you may be weaker as an entrepreneur. They kind of take you through nuts and bolts to so many different topics, from sales, marketing, HR, financial statements, understanding your financial statements, to your exit strategy as an entrepreneur. So the content of 10KSB and what you learn and the people, other entrepreneurs that you work with, is really an incredible experience. So I highly recommend that. And it was actually through the 10KSB program where I found out about ANSB. And Betsy, I think you were probably on one of the panels where I learned about ANSB and thought that, this ANSB would be a great step after the 10KSB program. So after kind of being trained and, and provided with so much great content from the 10KSB program, as well as the network of other entrepreneurs, I really felt that ANSB was going to be a great next step for me to continue my learning, as well as to continue to grow my business. And so I loved what I was hearing about ANSB and definitely acquired. In fact, I probably reached out to Betsy and other people from ANSB, who then connected me to Therese, so I could learn more, because I thought that, having what really attracted me to ANSB was really having an advisory board that they chose of experts specifically catered to you and your business and the challenges that you are facing. And then they go out and identify very specific experts in the areas in which you need support on to help you grow your business. And I thought that was truly amazing. And it is becoming amazing as I am currently in the program. And I have to give a good shout out to Therese, who is my mentor, as well as Frank, who is on the call, who is part of my advisory board, and Neil, who's not here, but was going to be here. So I have a fabulous advisory board. Therese really has been instrumental in taking the time to get to know my business, understand the challenges, and then went out to really identify who are the best people for my business to help me grow. And it's really been fantastic. And, and I'm just so grateful and really excited. We kind of just started over the summer, so we're in the swings of it right now. And it's already been very supportive and very helpful, to the point where some of the things that I needed support around was really on marketing and sales and really growing my business. And one of my advisors, was taking a look at all of my marketing materials and writing it up and, changing things. And so it's really tangible, supportive things that really were helpful as well. So it's been a really awesome experience, and I'm super grateful to ANSB for this opportunity. And I certainly highly recommend being a part of it if you are able and interested. So that's a little bit about me, and happy to answer any questions, or if there's other questions for me to share more about my experience. But it's been really awesome.
Thank you. We are expecting great things from you, Chantel.
I'm expecting great things for myself too.
Yeah, you can see. So right now we have two entrepreneurs who are still on our call. Chanel and Anthony, please unmute yourselves. We have plenty of time right now to try to get us, the group of people here, to work on your challenges. I'm thinking, Chanel and Anthony, first off, do you have any questions for us? Anthony, you're not muted, so you go first.
Well, the nonprofit was started in July, so I don't know if it would pass the 3-year test.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't.
I don't know that this is a good match for me. I think I should be talking to my own lawyers and finding 5 people that are willing to, give me some feedback. I'm not a new startup myself. I've been in business as an agent for a number of years. So
well, the only thing that you're probably very aware of this, if you have a board, they make decisions. And I think to actually finish the creation of your nonprofit, you really need a board of trustees or board that has fiduciary responsibility. So be very careful about who you put on it.
And I would, sorry, go ahead, Therese.
Go ahead. No, Chantel, go ahead.
No, Anthony, when I first heard you saying that you were looking for a board, I think that you really need a nonprofit board for your nonprofit organization, which is totally separate from what ANSB is. So you do want to have a board of advisors for your nonprofit, but when you get that, you might want to consider the 10KSB program. But where ANSB would come in is really helping you as the executive director, managing and running your organization, to then be able to support you in addition to to your board, and how you're running your organization. So I feel like you're still in the early stages and certainly need to identify you know, a board for your nonprofit. And then once you're up and running, having an advisory board specifically for you as a leader running the show to support you.
Yeah.
All right, well, I appreciate your time, and it's good information. And, you know, there are other entrepreneurs that I know that I may be able to send your way. But my next step is to talk to my lawyer.
It for sure is. And good luck with it. I'm sure
Thank
it'll
you
be
all.
terrific. Thank you for sharing with us today.
Good.
Thanks. Chanel, are you able to unmute yourself? I saw that you said you'd like to hear more about Chantel's experiences.
Yes, I would. Yes, I'm able to unmute, and I'm just wondering if I can hear some more of your experiences. Just myself being a business owner for the last 15 years, I'm wondering what was that experience like in connecting with other professionals that are now going to be advising you on your business, and you're sharing like so much confidential information about your business. How was that?
So how was like being vulnerable and sharing about my business? So is that your question in terms of, and what is it like working with the advisory board?
Yes. How was that level of transparency? You know, did you feel comfortable with it? Like, how was it even? I'm just wondering the experience of how is it connecting with professionals that you do not know? Yes, they have their areas of expertise, but you're now disclosing all of your information around your business. And I just wanted to know, what was that experience like?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, it's great to kind of share, you know, the challenges that you're facing, you know, with your board of directors. Now, I will say you want to feel comfortable with them. And so, you know, Therese does a great job in identifying people, but you kind of interview them first and you read their bios, you can interview them, meet with them. So beforehand, before they even come on your board, you know, Therese or other board members, you know, who's working with you will say, here's somebody I think that might be good for you. You let us know if you feel comfortable working with them. And if you think that they're going to be a good fit for your business and what you're looking for. So you kind of, they've identified people, but you kind of have the final say in terms of who you would like to have on your board. And if you feel comfortable. And there were times where there was individuals that they picked out that I didn't feel comfortable with. And I said, no, I don't think that person's going to be the best fit for me. You know, can we find somebody else? So you do have, you know, the opportunity to say yes or no to who is going to be on your advisory board. And you work with your mentor on identifying who might be good people in terms of a financial person, an HR person, a salesperson, that kind of thing, depending on what your specific situation is. So once you meet with all of your board members individually through an interview or understanding their bios, you know, then you're kind of feeling a little bit comfortable about who they are and what they bring. And then, and then you kind of just share. Now, I will say it was important for me to have a diverse board. And of course, people that look like me on my advisory board as well. So, you know, we made sure that there are people on my advisory board that look like me, and that are diverse, that are very supportive and really great and ask me the tough questions. That you know, and also hold me accountable to certain things as well. Does that help?
Yes, that does. It puts it into perspective, and I like the idea that you were able to definitely voice your opinion and say that you definitely wanted to have some people on your team that look like you can identify with your challenges. So I really like that. That's really good.
Yeah, Betsy, you also talked about having to think about how you wanted to deal with people who might be competitive or not competitive.
I'm sorry, what did you?
I know when you were speaking about your experience.
Oh,
You
yes.
you thought about, I gather you treat them differently if they're competitive or not.
Right. Well, you know, initially the peer advisory network I joined were non-competitive businesses, but we were grouped by our revenues. Because usually, and the number of people you have in your company, usually the revenue and the number of people are related, and you'll have similar challenges. I mean, if you're running a business with 5 people versus you're running a business with 25 people, and my business is a people business, it's a challenge. It's very different running a smaller group of people versus a larger. And of course, as those numbers continue to grow. The other thing too is what I found with the first network I joined, it was very valuable, but I found every time I had to present a challenge, I had to explain my business. So I went to another type of peer network that was all advertising agencies. Now within advertising, you have digital, you have PR, you have creative, you have full service. We're a very specific media buying type of agency. We're considered a specialist. But in the agency world, we all start at the same place, that it's a people business. It's driven by people. And from there, a lot of challenges come up and we're able to share and discuss. But as I said earlier, I was not aware of an expert advisory network, and I might have gone that route. I mean, seriously, if I'd been given that choice at that time, all I knew was I needed help. And my choices were create a board, which seemed like overwhelming to me at the time I was starting down this path, versus joining a network that was already a relatively small group, 10 to 15 business owners with similar challenges, even though we were not in the same industries. The other thing I wanted to say, Therese, don't we all sign an NDA?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so I just wanted to bring that up.
No, that really, we absolutely sign an NDA. Right. And I will also say one of the things, Chanel, I don't know if you've already done 10KSB, but that's something to think about, because part of what the benefit of going through that is that you get more comfortable sharing some of your information, and you begin to see how it can be helpful and how you can share some of it and really benefit. But there are ways to do that are much less risky than it feels like when you first hear it, which is kind of frightening. So I'll just say that's something to think about too. What else can we help you with today, or would you like to have further conversations that we can arrange? Chanel?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm sorry. I had to take a call. So I am aware of 10,000 small businesses. I think I applied year 5 of my business. And I think then again in year 10, and I was accepted. It was just not the right timing for me. So I will look into it again. Yeah, I think I will look into it again. I guess the question that I do have is, when we start talking about experts, so my area of expertise, I have a childcare facility, and so what kind of experts would you advise or recommend for me to support my business?
I can tell you we have two childcare facilities as clients right this moment.
Oh, nice.
One is in New Jersey and one is in West Philadelphia.
Okay.
And they're different. Oh my gosh, they're so different. So we spend some time right up front getting to know you. And if you would like, we could have a conversation as well. So one of them has been growing really rapidly and was having some challenges dealing with much too much demand and financials, and they didn't own their facility, but they were thinking about owning it. And a lot of things with that. So they needed someone who knew about real estate, someone who knew about managing the people, and being able to, they needed financial people to help them really think about how do you manage that growth. They didn't need to generate much more interest. The other one has grown and has was juggling. They had 3 facilities, I guess 2 they were using now and 1 they were thinking of buying or contracting for. They had a number of different partners that they were working with to get clients both during the day and for after school programs. And they were going to have to really work hard on marketing so that they were balancing the number of children they were caring for with their capacity in their places and also in their staff. They were both concerned about paying their staff as well as they could. Actually, I can think of another one that's going to start there, have a little bit more arts focus to it, but they're actually going to be looking not just at how do we, they're not growing, they're not worried about growing at all. They're worried about how do they go on in the long term they charge a lot, they're expensive, and they want to be able to keep their staff and pay them well and give them good benefits. So that, of course, as you well know, puts pressure on the bottom line. And they're wondering, should they become a nonprofit as well? How do they do this? How do they set themselves up in the long run to keep and develop really good staff, pay them well? And if they were a nonprofit, they could apply for more grants. They're right now a for-profit. And so they're looking at how do we keep this business as one that's going to be sustainable and good for our families and for our staff and for ourselves. Does that give you a little bit of sense of it? And in each case, we look for different people. We say, what do you need? How do you need it? You know? Does that help a little bit, Chanel? Yeah.
Yes, it does. It does.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that.
You are very, very
And I'll
welcome.
also add just my connection to childcare services is actually our company. Just we're working with, I don't know if I mentioned this, but we're working with another 10 KSB alum called Learned Potential, and we're partnering with them and also our client now is Delaware State University, where we're actually going to be certifying early childhood development teachers to get their CDA certification, actually. So that's kind of also our connection, where we're doing leadership training and development to early childhood development teachers and helping them get their certification through Delaware State University as well. So just that connection in terms of, what you do, Chanel, as well. And, to kind of add to what Therese was talking about, clearly they already have clients that they're working with in your industry, but also they would take a deeper dive into what you do and identify areas that you need support on, so that it's catered to you specifically in terms of what your challenges are and who the experts they might need to identify for you to support you in growing your business and whatever else is needed for you.
Right. So, and Chantel's business is called Mindset Strategies, LLC. Mm-hmm. And you will see, if you look, you can Google her. Chantel, would you put some of your contact information in the chat?
Yep, I just did, but I realized it was to a specific person. Hold on a second. Let me try again.
Okay. And Chanel, Marla is going to send out to everybody who registered for this a PDF of all of our slides, and you'll see names and contact information. And you'll see my contact information in there. So if you need to get in touch with Chantel, you can just reach out to me and tell me.
Okay, thank you so much. This has been very informative and thought-provoking, and I will be reaching out.
Very good. Well, it's a delight to meet you. And I think I think we're about ready. Marla, do you want to close us out for the day?
You know, this has been amazing. It really has been. I'm sitting here, I'm listening, I'm taking notes. The information coming from both Betsy and Chantel it's just phenomenal. People, Betsy said something that she said she couldn't take her business to the next level because she was so keyed in on the day to day. And business owners often can't figure out how they're going to do that, because if they take away, and kudos to both Betsy and Chantel, CEOs who decided that an investment of time in 10 KSB, the 100 hours that they say are in class, the 100 hours that they say are outside of class, but that investment is transformative for you as the owner, the manager, the leader of the business. So this has been amazing. I'm saying I'm thinking about how I can get some other PIDC clients in this, because that mind shift is critical. And that's the part that is most difficult to get entrepreneurs to realize. And I know, Chanel, you were talking about the competition, but there was something else that Betsy said about she would talk to people, but they didn't understand what she was saying because they weren't in her industry. And so there is a time and place for competition, but then conversely, there's a time and place to be able to connect with people who are in your same industry, who can assist. This has just been Therese. I'm gonna steal Chantel and Betsy and get them before some of our PIDC clients. They need to hear your stories. They need to hear how successful business people who were growing, and in some instances, how do you manage the growth? I'll tell you right now, I have a client, and Chanel, this is where you don't want to be. I have a client right now, a $65 million company, and never put in place the organizational infrastructure to manage that $65 million. Because you don't want to let go, right? You think that I started this, or my parents started this. It's in our blood, it's in our family, but there has to come a period of time. I'm listening to Chantel talk about what she does and who she provides these services to. But just to think about, she had to know there was a point that I need help. And the success comes when you can realize that somebody's got to help me beyond this. And that is the part that Goldman Sachs has really keyed in on. They know that you're already successful, but you've taken this thing as far as you can take it. You're losing sleep over what do I do next? And I mean, you ladies have phenomenal businesses. And Chanel, I really hope that you take in what they said. And if it's not 10,000 small businesses, then you could start with Power Up Your Business. Power Up Your Business is oftentimes a feeder system into the Goldman Sachs. And one of the things about the advisory boards, it is difficult sometimes. Great, you completed Power Up. All right, so you're ready. You're ready for Goldman Sachs. Some business owners have never had a third party look at them with a critical eye and say, no, you need to change the way you're doing this. And so it's hard when you've always been inside of your own head to listen to someone give you constructive criticism and you start clamming up, And so this has been great. Therese, I got to tell you, this has been great. This is great.
Yeah, we've got a program with some fabulous people. And Chanel, I will tell you, I was just talking yesterday with someone who, when we talked, we said you could start an advisory team application now. But what I really advise you to do is do 10 KSB in the winter and then plan to start, just take your growth plan, just the way Chantel did actually, and move into getting an advisory team to help you take the next step after that. But anyway, we're all available. We will, and you can tell Chantel's business may be exactly what you need to help your own leadership team there. I think you picked up on that. And so we wish you the best. Good for you being the fourth generation. You can hear from Betsy, and if Frank were to tell you about his experience, he's the second generation in his business. So this is a great thing. And I want to thank you for listening and for thinking about all the great programs we do. And I want to thank Chantel and Betsy and Frank for being here and helping us show Marla. See, we're with your support, Marla. This ANSB is going to be a really good resource. So,
well, I'm certainly convinced. You know, I've seen some of the graduates when you were under the previous iteration, so I know the value that it brings. I know I've seen businesses who came out of Goldman Sachs and then segued into the advisory board process.
right.
And now what you're doing to be able to offer this to not just women business owners, but to any business owner is even better. It's even better. So it's 2:23. We've got about 7 minutes. Chantel, is there anything else you want to say before we leave?
Just thank you for this opportunity, really. I'm so grateful to Therese for thinking of me, for being here, and also just to ANSB for this opportunity to have an advisory board, and to Frank, who's one of my advisory board members. I'm just really grateful, and yeah, can't wait to continue on with the program and how to help other entrepreneurs like myself. So just thank you.
Great. Betsy, parting words, advice.
Again, thank you for having us. I get so much personally from sharing my story and helping others and answering questions. And, I just remember that really lonely place until I started to reconnect with people that were equally eager to help. They had a wealth of knowledge and experience and were willing to share. And all I had to do was ask the right questions, and it was very fortuitous and meaningful to me and my business. And I would recommend it for anyone who wants
Betsy,
to.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Frank, we didn't hear much from you. So parting words.
Marla, I had been involved with the Athena PowerLink prior to ANSB, and when the pandemic came and we all had these discussions on trying to carry this forward, but also changing, the mission so it was all inclusive. And I just never really had that opportunity to offer my assistance and help and things in the past, but going through the pandemic has taught me a good amount of resilience that I think a lot of our young entrepreneurs and people that are coming to us, they'll share some of the vulnerabilities, and it actually helps all of us open up ourselves with those vulnerabilities, because I only think it allows us to be much more conducive to learning and continuing to move forward. And I, even in myself in these conversations, hearing some of the entrepreneurs, there's some wonderful things that I'm gathering from them. So I'm learning as well, and looking forward to the continued sharing of the knowledge and expertise. And I have some gifts, and I like to do that, offer those, in environments with the connecting aspects of things. So, and I've really enjoyed being on the advisory board for Chantel and look forward to her continued growth and continue working with PIDC. I think this is really exciting. I know I'm not in a visual way here, and that's kind of a little bit of a, a negative, but definitely the meet and greets. I like getting together, meeting people, really all of a sudden just, opening those up. So, but again, this is still a perfect venue to do this way. And I look forward to be there and actually be there in person and visual in the future. But thank you for this opportunity to be present with all of you.
Thank you, Frank. All right, so it looks like, let's see. So it's just us on this call now.
Yes, it is.
So I'm going to stop.